The Belize Defence Force is Belize's only terrestrial standing army and is charged with the defence of Belize, the support of the civil authorities in the maintenance of order in Belize, and such other duties as may, from time to time, be defined by the Governor-General. The BDF was founded in 1978, and while this military organization is well over 39 years old, its roots date back even further to 1817, when the Prince Regent Royal Honduras Militia, a volunteer organization, was founded. Between 1817 and 1978, the military force in Belize evolved.
In 1st of January 1978, they had the Police Special Force and the Belize Volunteer Guard. They amalgamated somewhat. So they took some guys from the police, some guys from the Volunteer Guards, and they were the persons who formed the BDF in 1978. And so that was the first intake of the Belize Defence Force.
Since then, the BDF has seen major improvements and enhancements made to make it a more modern military force.
It's changed quite a bit. When I joined, we still had the British forces here. They handed over complete patrols for us in 1994. So even when I came back from Sandhurst, we were still doing joint patrols with the British forces. But now it's all Belizeans. So it has changed quite a bit. We have modernized to use modern day equipment. So that has significantly reduced the wear and tear on the body. I remember when I joined, we used to have the large pack, which is smaller than the backpack that we carry now. It was hard carrying that because the straps were thin, it cut into your shoulder, you couldn't carry as much stuff inside. You had to carry the same stuff, but you couldn't carry it inside. So you had to find ways to attach it onto the large pack. So that the equipment has changed, the weaponry have changed. At that time we had the SLR, or the self-loading rifle, which is a long rifle, almost 3 feet plus. So the guys had difficulty in terms of patrolling with that. We're up to date in terms of technology, in terms of communication. We have guys out on patrol who can hook up a laptop onto our HF radio and send a message back to headquarters on that same radio, the same as you would with your laptop and your internet. It's the same process except it's using a radio. So we're really up to date in terms of how we're modernizing the military.
While plenty of significant changes have been made over the years, the present structure and organization of the BDF is key to its strength.
The BDF is structured in a way that you have force headquarters, which is the command element of the force. The force headquarters get their direction from the ministry. And then force headquarters disseminates that down to 2 infantry battalions, a support battalion, a volunteer battalion, and an air wing. The volunteer battalion is what they call the weekend warriors. They're not full-time, they're part-time. But we do use them quite a bit as well to assist us in terms of the numbers and the manning and everything. So each battalion, we have 2 infantries, and they're the ones who are always out on patrols executing the ground patrols. The air wing and the small boat unit are the ones who execute the riverine and air patrols for us. And the support battalion is, as the name implies, provides all the logistical support. So the medical, the signalers, the cooks, and every other logistical support that you need, clothing, equipment, ammunition, weapons. That battalion is tasked to provide that for every operation that goes out. There are 2 portions of the BDF. There are the commissioned officers and the non-commissioned officers. The commissioned officers, you normally start off as an officer cadet, which is an appointment. And then you go and do your officer commissioning course. You come back as a second lieutenant. Then you get promoted to lieutenant, which is 2 pips. And then you get to captain, 3 pips. Major, which is a crown. Lieutenant colonel, which is a crown and a pip. Full colonel, which I am, a crown and 2 pips. And then brigadier, which is a crown and 3 pips. That's the highest rank presently in the BDF. That's for the commissioned officers. For the non-commissioned officers, you start off as a private, then you move to a lance corporal, a full corporal, a sergeant, a staff sergeant, a warrant officer class 2, and a warrant officer class 1. which is the highest rank in the non-commissioned bracket. For the commissioned officers first, you need an associate's degree to be part of the selection board to start off. There's a selection board, which means you come in for 2 days and you go in front of a board which consists of senior military officers and a civilian from the ministry. And you get selected, which means you become an officer candidate. And from there, you're sent off to one of the academies, be it the UK, Guyana, or in the US or Canada, to do officer training. Upon return, you're immediately commissioned as an officer now to the rank of second lieutenant. You get promoted to lieutenant after 2 years, and after 4 years from lieutenant, you can get promoted to captain. That's for the commissioned officers. For the non-commissioned officers, you enter as a recruit, and then you pass out, you become a private soldier. This is the first rank in the non-commissioned bracket. After 2 years, you can get promoted to a lance corporal. Then to corporal, there's another course. To sergeant, there's another course. To staff sergeant, there's another course. And then there's a warrant officer course that qualifies you for a warrant officer class 2. And then, dependent on your seniority and availability again, you get promoted to warrant officer class 1.
But what all does it take to build a soldier? What type of training and special skills are required for them to be qualified as Belize's best line of defense? Like any other growing entity, the Belize Defense Force recruits potential soldiers annually.
When officers or soldiers reach their retirement time, be it years of service or age, they have to leave the force, and we have to maintain the numbers. So that is the reason why we recruit, to maintain the numbers. Through our staff processes, we decided how much we need first. We have so many people retiring by this time, therefore by this time we will need to replace that amount. We advertise first through all the media houses, and then we internally set up different teams to go to different locations to conduct this recruiting drive.
Well, today was basically the recruiting drive for intake number 63, which is scheduled to assemble in the month of October, later this year. Basically, what we started off with this morning was the basic fitness test, which is required for any soldier and all soldiers to run in, depending on the age, between 10 minutes to 30 seconds. The age range for recruiting for the Belize Defense Force is between the ages of 18 to 23 years old. Earlier this morning, we had a total of about 66 individuals who showed up, but some were out of the age range, so hence the reason we had to inform them that they would be unable to sit today's exam. Well, after we dealt with that, we ended up checking the citizenship, because the first rule is for you to join the Belize Defense Force, you need to be a Belizean. So we checked that to avoid them wasting their energy doing that physical exam, just to find out that they cannot sit the exam. So we checked that and we confirmed that they're Belizeans, hence the reason they sat the physical exam. And those who sat it and those who were successful are now sitting the theoretical aspect of that exam. There are four different exams. 2 English exams, 1 math and 1 general knowledge. Basically, the exams range from between 45 minutes to 60 minutes per exam. In between that, immediately after the physical aspect of the recruiting drive today, we basically went into further details when it comes to the assessment of the individuals. Basically, we interviewed them. Immediately after interviewing, we had there's a medical checkup which was conducted by a fully qualified medic. All right. Basically, what we look for are any abnormalities within the individual, or maybe some recent incidences where there's some crucial part of the human body which was broken, which maybe can cause the individual to get further injuries during training, because training is very rigorous. So we have to do that aspect. We do ask for contact numbers. So if they're successful on the exam, there's a list that's going to be sent to our headquarters, and there will be a contact number where we talk to them direct, or there's a letter that is sent to them.
Those letters go out to the persons, and they come into recruit training it's normally a Sunday. You come in Sunday, your name are ticked off at the guard room, you're picked up by an instructor at the guard room and taken down to training company and shown through what is expected of you. But of course, the haircut is first. Monday morning, they start off with the medical screening. So that includes everything medical and all your paperwork. And then recruit training starts for you.
Left, right, left. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Odd numbers, 1 pace forward. Even numbers, 1 pace backward. March. 1, 2. Yes, march. 1, 2, 3, 1. Up, 2, 3, go.
Training company is where the soldiers come and be trained. That includes non-commissioned officers, to include recruits as well. This is where the training company takes over. They come in as civilians, and the ultimate goal is to mold them from civilians into professional soldiers. When a civilian comes in as a recruit, there are a lot of things, or many things that need to be looked at. We always look at the soldier. The soldier has to be, or the recruit has to be robust. But really and truly, the soldier has to have that mind frame, that strong robustness in the mind, because everything boils down to how strong your mind. Physically, you can be physically fit, but when the pressures of not sleeping well, not having the right amount of food, running under the elements, that takes a toll on the body. And if you are mentally robust, then that won't faze you any at all. On the other hand, if you are weak, physically weak, it will eventually take a toll. So we encourage people who want to join the Belize Defense Force to try and work on their physical a bit, because that will essentially and eventually help them out when training starts. The entire process is a 16-week package. All right, in that 16-week package, we break it down basically into 2. The first 6 weeks are the most difficult week, because this is when you transition from a civilian into the military. And that is, for some people, it can be difficult. For some people, it can be a somewhat easy transition. But for majority of people, it is somewhat difficult, because they're not used to getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning and going to sleep up to 12, midnight, 1 o'clock, depending on the amount of tasks that need to get done. And these tasks would include basic things like studying for their tests, reviewing their notes, water shining, ironing their uniform, ensuring that the room, their beds is properly up to the standard that is required. It is clean. The bathrooms along the company lines are exceptionally spick and span. So all of these things, and it takes time. The last portion of the training essentially is just to polish all the skills that we've taught them throughout the period. The first 6 weeks, as I mentioned, is to turn that civilian into a soldier, and he thinks as a soldier, things as a unit, not as an individual. And throughout the rest of the period, all of these skills, basic soldierly skills, are taught. Map reading, communications, the medic, first aid, they need to be competent enough so that if any eventuality, any gunshot, any broken bones, then they can deal with it. We want to know that the soldier has that ability in order for him to pass out. And then, like I mentioned, the final part, and we sit down here at training company in this office, and we decide who are the people that did not meet the standard, or the people that met the standard and with a high standard.
After the recruits have successfully passed all tests and completed all required training, they pass out, which is an official ceremony that indicates the successful recruits have graduated from the initial training required by the BDF. The pass-out ceremony takes place once a year and is an official ceremony attended by family members of the new soldiers, members of the public, senior government officials, as well as invited military personnel from various nations.
The ceremony is twofold. We have a ceremony, the ceremonial portion of it, and a display portion of it. The ceremonial portion, we start off with the recruits marching on parade. This is before the invited dignitaries arrive. Because there are special invited dignitaries that have different arrival times. So you normally have the Chief Justice, the leader of the opposition, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Defense, and the last person to arrive is the Governor General. Immediately after recruit training, the families are like, man, that's my son or that's my daughter. They can't believe the physical transformation. It started off physically because they're like, hey, this guy looks good. People are proud to see him move around. Some of the soldiers have gone on to further their education as well. Within the BDF, they've passed out, and after 1 year of doing infantry work, they can apply to go to school. Of course, there's only a certain percentage of the force that can do that at any one time. So they have had opportunities to actually further their education. And I've had families come to me and say, thanks very much to the BDF for helping my son. Now he has a high school diploma, or now he has an associate's degree, and he wouldn't have been able to accomplish that out there because it's hard. And they have done that right here in the BDF. People perceive the BDF as just being hard, brutal, rough. No. The BDF is an organization professionally trained to conduct the full spectrum of community affairs and social aspect of life.
But who exactly are the men and women who proudly make up the Belize Defence Force? Join us next time as we uncover the sacrifices our soldiers and their loved ones make in our next episode. The Belizean Behind the Uniform.